Good morning and good afternoon, LeTip. As someone said, my name is Don Lewis. I am the owner and founder of Lewis IT, and I belong to LeTip at Chevy Chase out here in Maryland. Today, we're going to talk about, again, like someone said, best practices around cybersecurity, protecting yourself and your business as well as your customers' data if you do collect data, financial, depending on what industry you're in, and so on and so forth. So who's ready? This is one of my favorite topics. Excellent. Let me share my screen. Sorry, I didn't realize I didn't start the sharing. Just want to confirm you all can see my slideshow.
We can.
Perfect. Yes. All right. So I've been in this industry for 2 decades, and I'm still asked this question, ironically, well, not ironically, but it's kind of shocking. I'm asked the same question by business owners as well as family and friends, and that is, how can I make myself unhackable? When I try to explain that there's no such thing as unhackable, it's more of a matter of making sure that you're well informed about the threats that are out there and minimize the risk by not only installing antivirus software, but also investing in security awareness training so that you and the people that work for you can act accordingly if and when a breach occurs. You get breached. You want to make sure you can act on that and make the necessary complete the necessary actions to avoid any damage. Here is a list of some corporations that were victims of data breaches last year in 2022. Any of these look familiar? Yeah, right? I, for one, have a Samsung phone on T-Mobile's network, so you can imagine how scared I was, and working in the industry as well, kind of petrified. But this just goes to show that any company, big or small, can be a victim of a data breach. And it starts with the employee. So the more informed your employees are, the better off you will be if and when that was to take place. But we all must invest in security in order to protect our data as well as our customers' data. Just to minimize the risk of your reputation going down the drain if and when that does take place, and so on and so forth. Just going to talk through some of the common types of cyber attacks. Some of you may recognize some of these types of attacks depending on the industry you work in. We'll start with phishing. Phishing is probably one of the most common ones that people are victims of. This involves tricking an individual into revealing sensitive information or clicking on malicious links, whether it be an email, text message, anything of the sort. So an example of this is you're receiving an email from someone that appears to be representing your bank or the United States Postal Service, any of those where they have a link within that email. You click that link and it takes you to a site designed by these individuals, these hackers, that steal your login credentials. So that's just as easy as just writing your password down on a sticky note and handing it over to somebody. Same exact thing. Next up is malware. Malware is short for malicious software, and this encompasses a wide range of software designed to harm or gain unauthorized access to systems. So you might have seen somebody become a victim of this by clicking on or downloading something that seems to be legitimate, but contains a hidden malware program or something of the sort that would start collecting your personal information, sending it to these criminals to use for malice. And then initially following that is internal threats. This is simply someone who works, a trusted individual that works inside of a big corporation, who has access to the organization's systems and data and may misuse that information for malicious purposes. An example of this would be someone who works, again, for a large corporation who is denied for a promotion and decides they want to retaliate in a manner such as this. Next up, we have business email compromise. These attacks are more along the lines of phishing, where attackers manipulate employees into transferring money, sensitive data by posing as trusted figures. So a lot of times my organization has seen, somebody sends an email as a CEO of a company saying, hey, hurry up and send 1.5 million to, pay this invoice or whatever have you. And then, of course, that happening. And then that's an example of the email compromise, which is also known as identity-based attacks. And then social engineering. Social engineering attacks often exploit human psychology to manipulate individuals into divulging confidential information or performing actions that compromise security. So these are most common with like Facebook. You see people have their Facebook accounts cloned and immediately you get a message or something like that from this individual. And then the real individual posts, hey, my account's been hacked. Don't accept any messages from this individual, so on and so forth. And then supply chain attacks. These are becoming more common. These specific attacks target vulnerabilities in the supply chain or third-party vendors to compromise their systems later on down the line. So an example of this was, you guys probably may not have heard about this one. There was a VoIP vendor that was hacked back in March of this year, which gave a lot of us headaches in the industry. Company goes by the name of 3CX. Don't know if you guys have heard of them, but their executable was compromised on both Mac and Windows. So that when people upgraded to the latest version of their software, they were essentially made vulnerable to any attacks that were pushed out by these attackers. And then the last two, denial of service and cross-site scripting, kind of go hand in hand, can go hand in hand for the most part. Denial of service attack is just simply overwhelming a network or a resource within an organization and causing it to come to a slowdown, which then hinders the business and slows the flow of money. If one relies on their website, this could be detrimental to income, losing money by the minute. And then including in that is cross-site scripting, which is basically injecting sort of, and I'm sorry if I'm using terminology that you guys aren't familiar with. I kind of nerd out when it comes to these, so pardon me and if you have any questions, of course, let me know. But cross-site scripting is injecting a script into a website or a web application, and then the unsuspecting user comes in, tries to use the website, and they're then compromised by that attack. So the number one thing I always try to help my customers and prospects understand is that security is not made to be convenient. And what I mean by that is, in order to be able to protect your network and your digital assets, certain security measures need to be implemented, and there shouldn't be any corners cut. So as far as storing passwords, this should be done in a password manager like Bitwarden and 1Password and some of the other ones, where you can generate secure passwords that are unique for each of the logins that you have. You should not use the same password for all of your websites and applications as you use, because again, you're just making it that much easier for your the cyber criminals to get access to your information. Again, avoid using passwords like your pet's name, followed by a sequence of numbers like fluffy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Definitely don't use things like that. Again, use the password manager to help you generate secure and unique passwords for each of your systems. And then securing your network on the edge or at the perimeter. One of the most important things to do is protecting your network. Most websites nowadays have some sort of security measure built in, where after you enter your password, you're then prompted to enter a code, a numeric code. This is known as multi-factor authentication, or MFA. More and more vendors are starting to support this, and most of them require when you sign up for a service. So let's say like ChatGPT, for example, they give you the opportunity to do this. This is one of the more secure ways to protect assets, because if your password gets compromised, they would still need that second piece of info, which would be your phone, the email, or a hardware token like a YubiKey. You guys see those little YubiKeys that plug into your laptops and so on and so forth, and things of that sort. Single sign-on and multi-factor authentication kind of go hand in hand and are coupled together most of the time when it comes to authentication into applications which house a company's data. For example, your email or financial information or whatever have you. Firewall devices, these are going to sit at the perimeter, of course, and protect your business from potential vulnerabilities and bad actors. Most firewalls come with intrusion detection and prevention components built in, as well as other packages that can be leveraged by your IT team to further protect and analyze your network traffic. Remember, firewalls are just one layer of defense in a comprehensive cybersecurity strategy, and one of the most important pieces to maintaining a robust security posture. As far as social engineering, I touched on this previously, so I won't spend too much time there. But the three main things to kind of make sure that you're doing in your businesses is making sure your people are educated. And again, this goes back to the awareness training, security awareness training. Make sure you invest in that. Have reporting procedures around who's doing these trainings and who isn't. And then, of course, setting up phishing simulations. So setting up fake tests, fake simulations that would otherwise be something that would be real, and see how your employees act on these. If they click on links, if they're typing in passwords and stuff like that, you can kind of get reports on who's being aware and who's doing the training versus who's kind of blowing it off. With regard to remote employees, since nowadays we're all, well, most of us are remote, is making sure that your remote employees are secured as well. VPNs, of course, a virtual private network, just make sure that your employees have access to the resources that are required by your organization, and that they're protected. Also making sure that operating systems are up to date. That's very, very important as well as the applications that sit on those operating systems. For example, Windows and Mac OS. Just making sure you put those updates are pushed out timely to avoid any potential vulnerability hacks or anything like that. And then lastly, for this slide, the compliance aspect. I can't tell you how many times I've come across a prospect or a customer who went through an audit and they failed the audit because they weren't meeting compliance, and specifically in the healthcare and dental industries, HIPAA compliance and also PCI compliance. you want to make sure that you have someone who can you can reach out to, who can help you out with making sure that you have systems and security policies implemented that can help you avoid these fees that are associated with failing security audits. So very important to be aware of those as well. The next important piece, and essentially the most critical, are disaster recovery planning and backups. These are absolutely essential in safeguarding your organization's operations and data. In today's world, your data is invaluable, right? So it's the lifeblood of your organization, and loss or compromise of that can have dire consequences, especially if you're dealing with customers' data and things of that sort. The importance of backups, excuse me, very, very important. You don't want to be in a situation where one of your company's databases goes down and you don't have a backup to be able to recover that information, especially if you're collecting or storing data for a customer or anything of that sort. You also want to make sure you have a business contingency plan. This is more of a, I wouldn't say a formality, but something that should definitely be considered in terms of including in your security posture strategy. And then, of course, making sure you're testing and updating those on a quarterly basis. Another crucial aspect of cybersecurity that doesn't often get the attention it deserves is incident response planning. This particular planning plays a critical role in how you prepare for, respond to, and recover from cybersecurity incidents. So you might be asking, well, Don, what is a incident response plan? It's basically a plan that helps you step by step know what to do when you or one of your customers happens to be hacked, or you get compromised, you get breached. Your incident response team can help out with helping you plan for attacks, knowing what to do and who to contact, and making sure that you're minimizing that downtime in those particular instances. And that's it for the presentation part. Now let's see who was paying attention. I have a short 8-question quiz, and then I'll stop talking. So first question. And you can put the answers in the chat. This isn't serious. I don't have any money to give away or anything like that. This is just test your knowledge, test your retention. So what is cybersecurity? Good, very good. All right. Which of the following is an example of a strong password? All right, I see you guys paid attention. Excellent. Question 3, what is phishing? Good. Question 4, why is it important to keep your operating system up to date? All right, you guys are on a roll. I like it. Excuse me. And what is a firewall? All right, excellent. 6, if you receive an email with an attachment from an unknown sender, what should you do? Excellent, excellent. Hire you guys. And then question 7, what is multi-factor authentication, or MFA? You guys are good. And the last question, what should you do if you suspect a cyber attack in your business? There's multiple answers here. I should have put that in there. All right, very good, very good. That was the last question. So those of you that said B and D, you get some extra brownie points. So that concludes my presentation. If you ever come across anything in the future, you have a question about something, or you need some help, reach out to me. Here's my contact information here, or you can just look me up in LeTip Wired, and we'll definitely make sure we get you set up with a security assessment. Thank you so much for listening and for your attention.